Welcome to the For the Love of the Game podcast with your host, Jefferson Belfort and Brian Hernandez. This is episode 50. Brian, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. We're recording this on a Monday morning on President's Day. I'm feeling pretty good, well rested. Had a good morning so far. Had all right. It was pretty interesting, I guess, All-Star weekend you could say, and I'm just excited to talk about some basketball today. Start off my day right. How about you? How you doing?
Feeling good as well. Definitely enjoyed some of the festivities of the All Star game to watch. Um, Definitely happy to have like a day to unwind like this, like President's Day.
Hmm.
And ready for the second half of the season. I think it's going to be an interesting one. A lot of dominoes are still falling and things falling into their respective scenarios. So it should be an interesting rest of the season. So, are
For
you
sure.
ready? Are you ready,
Yep.
Ryan, to get
Let's
after
get into
this?
it.
Okay,
Let's get into it.
perfect. So, our topics for today are first, we're going to start off with buyout candidates post trades. Um, then we'll also go into are the Lakers ready for contention? And lastly, our last topic will be on the Suns and will they remain or should they be considered one of the favorites for the championship this year? Um, Brian, are you ready?
Yeah, man. Sounds like some good topics. I'm pumped. Let's get into it.
All right. So to start off, like as I mentioned, a lot of buyout candidates. I think the buyout market isn't as hot as it typically is or has typically been in the past. But we have some names out there that could land on some teams and in their run for a championship. First, to start off, no speculation needed here. We already know where he's going. Kevin Love has decided to sign with the Miami Heat. Brian, what is your thoughts on that? And what do you like this fit for Kevin Love?
I like the fit. I like the spacing that Kevin Love brings. I don't really think like where Kevin Love kind of was nice for the Cavs for instance, that kind of leadership and all that kind of stuff. Not really needed in somewhere like Miami where we got the Heat culture and all that. Like Kevin Love, he's a nice little addition. He's a upgrade from playing Udonis Haslam and Dwayne Dedman and all that, but but at the end of the day, I don't really think it's that crazy or that impactful. I also kind of think of it in the sense of like if the Cavs, who are a team that's also going for title contention and all that, if they can't even 5 minutes for someone like Kevin Love, then how is he going to be? Probably is not going to be that impactful in Miami. But what do you think?
With the bio market that you know you won't find the type of player that will necessarily like win you a championship or even be like a key role player in my mind. I think that it typically becomes a guy that sharpens the edges, right? So I think the fit wise for the Heat, although I think he does fit on the Heat, I think that he had better situations that he would fit better in. Um, I, for one, think that maybe a Warriors scenario looked pretty good for him. A Suns scenario looked good for him, you know. And then honestly, obviously, going back to playing with LeBron and on the Lakers would definitely be another good fit for him. But it's an interesting one. I think it's interesting because first, it does help with bolstering the bigs that they have. But as you mentioned, there's a reason why someone is let go, and it's not typically because they. It's not typically that it's because they're playing great, you know.
Yeah.
So There's that what plays a part into this whole in the whole calculus of this. I just think that because of how severely thin their front court depth is, it's just not the pick that I would have chose because I don't think that Kevin Love is going to be able to sustain or even take some of the damage that comes with being that type of player at this point in your career. He's 34 years old now.
Mhm.
He has shown that he's a little injury prone as well. Um, how much minutes do you give him? Like 5 to 10, 15? Like,
Pretty
was it really
much.
worth it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you don't. It doesn't hurt you to pick up a guy like this. It's a low risk, high reward if it works out. You know.
Yeah, I feel like with someone like Kevin Love or whatever, or any really of these buyout guys, or any of these guys that are really just past their prime, and they were once stars in the league and all that. What you kind of hope for is like in the playoffs, they have that one game where they just go off and they look like their old self. And then they go back just to their normal self and all that. But like if they can give you that one game where they really maybe, edge you out a win or something like that, that's where something like this is impactful. And I can see someone like Kevin Love have, getting hot, shooting well from three and all that. But I do like what you talked about of like the fit of probably the fit with the Suns would have been a little bit nicer. Have someone like that just come off the bench, a little extra thing, especially when you give up, Jay Crowder and Cam Johnson and all that already, and like probably need a little bit more another body there, someone who's actually could be a little bit helpful. Kevin Love would have been a good fit there, but at the end of the day, probably not going to be too crazy of a impact move for Miami.
Yeah, I agree. So moving forward with Russell Westbrook, very polarizing guy that hit the buyout market. Brian, do you have a team that you think he should be targeting or where you would love to see him at?
Yeah, Westbrook is an interesting one. So you mentioned before, like there's kind of there's levels to the buyout market. You have your old guys that are on, just good teams, but they're not going to get any more playing time, like a Kevin Love. That's a buyout guy. You have the situation right now where you have someone like Russell Westbrook, who actually got traded to a team that's not really trying to win in Utah. And all right, he wants to go win. He wants to get playing time. Let's actually buy him out. Russell Westbrook is actually still a serviceable player. He's not, the superstar that he was before, the MVP and all that, but he can still be pretty helpful for a team. The Clippers move is is somewhat interesting. They're already talking about it of they want to bring him in. Um, it looks like the Clippers won. They actually traded John Wall, and I kind of see it just like an upgrade from John Wall if he goes to the Clippers, and I guess I kind of like it. In I'm not mad at it. I really Westbrook is kind of hard to fit in any team. Where is he realistically going to go? I don't think he fits in well anywhere. But for some extra minutes, a team like the Clippers, I'm cool with it. Who do you have Westbrook going to?
Um, I like I like Westbrook for the Heat because of the whole Kevin Love situation.
Mm.
Have the UCLA reunion with the both of them. I just like it in the sense of like it's enough of a playoff situation where he could come in and automatically be an upgrade compared to what they
Mm.
have in Kyle Lowry
Anyone's an upgrade.
at the point guard. Yeah, so I like that aspect of it. Him having some background with Kevin Love, obviously on a collegiate standpoint. It's been a long time, but
Yeah.
it would just be interesting to see both of them land there and then see how they fit into the Heat culture. I think that Russ if he came to the Heat years ago, would have been the perfect like prototype for Heat culture, you know,
Mhm.
like the tough, works hard, no nonsense, like no excuses, like type of player like that he was. He could have leaned into this culture and probably would go down as like one of the best Heat player if he went down that route, you know?
Yeah.
Like imagine it. Like it's a good what if. That's a good what if, I would say. Um but yeah, no, I think that the Heat would be the one for me. I do like the Clippers thought because it does put him at the center of the game between all of these guys that need like a little bit more of a facilitator. Obviously, PG is welcoming the idea of bringing in Russ, and they've already taken steps planning for it to pick up a guy like Russ. My biggest issue that comes from this is if you don't get Russ, kind of looks a little weird because like you're just like in the same holding pattern you've been in the last couple of years. It's just, you're just replacing um, ball heavy, um, not looking to pass um, points. You know, like you had Reggie Jackson, you had John Wall, and then you would bring in Russ would
Mhm.
I mean, if you don't bring in Russ, you'd be stuck. I'm assuming with Bones Highland doing that. So uh, I don't see him as much of a facilitator,
No, he's not at all.
but 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 I really just don't think like yeah you can't move forward with just that. It might have to be that you pick up like a Pat Bev, even though he's not even one either. Like there's just no good option for them
Yeah.
besides Russ.
Yeah, it's kind of a all or nothing for us. I like the Miami thought. The only thing that worries me is just like I feel that team needs spacing. You have a bunch of guys that don't shoot threes and just want to pound the paint, so it's a little tough there in that aspect. But like you said, at the end of the day, realistically, anyone's an upgrade from Kyle Lowry. So I I would like to see. I wonder how Miami would feel of like because you got the Heat culture and everything, and if someone like Westbrook who likes to ball hog and he's still in that kind of sense of he's in that middle zone between like all right, I'm no longer a star, but I want to be a star and be the number one guy, and it's not really going to happen anymore, and coming to terms with that. That's why it's kind of just an awkward fit, really just anywhere. And I wonder if there's any aspect there of if he goes to the Clippers. He was with Paul George before, and Westbrook was that number one guy. And now Paul George is still at that high level and Westbrook's not there anymore. I wonder if there's any weird, like, kind of complex situation that might happen or what. But I think that's pretty much, though. I, in my opinion, that's the nicest fit for him, but still not ideal. None of these guys are realistically ideal anywhere.
Yeah, I think that he's accepted the idea of becoming a role player a little bit
Yeah,
more this year.
yeah, for sure.
All right, the
Actually, I want
next.
I want
Oh,
you I want you to go next or first next. So, because I know we have
okay.
our list and everything, we have after Russ, we have a little bit of a step down, and we kind of talked about maybe a little upgrade for in the Clipper sense, but the guy got traded to the Rockets again and has been stuck there. But he's going to. I don't know if he's actually bought out already, but at least he's definitely going to be John Wall. Jeff, where do you see John Wall being able to fit in a team?
I don't think he's going anywhere actually
You know
because
the
like, what's the chances a
Yeah.
team buys you out twice? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the chances? You already took less money, and like, he's not on a heavy contract. Like, I think I'm sorry. I think he's in NBA jail. I don't think he's going anywhere. But if he is bought out, just for shits and Oh,
That's good. Just keep
apologize.
it.
Just for
Yeah.
fun, we'll go with I would love to see a reunion for him to the Wizards.
I like that. I like
He's
that a
not gonna
lot.
do anything, but just
Yeah.
for reunion purposes.
Just for a reunion, sits on the bench, kind of ends his career in Washington where it started. I That's a
Yeah.
cool pick. That's a cool pick. I love how you talked about how Houston is kind of like a the jail for NBA players. You got Eric Gordon who just got freed and he's like, yeah, he's all happy. And John Wall is going right back to jail. I think
It's a
I'm on your
soul
boat.
for a
Yeah.
soul.
Yeah,
It's a soul
exactly.
for a soul.
Oh man, it's pretty sad for John Wall. He has to be back on that team after talking trash about them on a podcast recently. Yeah, that's that's not a fun one. I kind of agree with you. I probably there's really no great role for him because like you're saying, he goes to Washington. That's actually probably the nicest place for him to go. But like no matter where he goes, I don't really think he's going to like be an impactful player, playing any meaningful minutes or anything like that. There's no team that fits that kind of stereotype that needs a guy like him. Where I kind of was thinking of not playing, but kind of being like more of a mentorship role on a fun team is like the Sacramento Kings. And if I think about someone like De'Aaron Fox being able to like learn from someone like John Wall, had very similar play styles and all that. Super athletic, known as the fastest guy in the league when they were both playing and all that. I think that'd be pretty fun, and I think that'd be pretty cool to see as a more mentorship role. But like you're saying, anything more doesn't really fit anywhere.
I agree.
All right. No, this next one, I guess. I'll go for this next one, and then you can finish off the other way. But next guy, the guy that talks trash all the time. He got paired with Westbrook and all that, and I thought it was gonna be funnier. I thought we were gonna see more memes, but it was pretty civil for the most part. I'm talking about Pat Bev. He got traded to Orlando and immediately is bought out. Jeff, where do you see someone like Pat Bev going?
uh, Maybe he goes back to his stomping yards where he started, the Miami Heat. Um, but I think best fit, um, best way to maximize his abilities is him going potentially to a team like the Bucks, helping them out. I think that's a good fit for him. Not going to be asked to do much. Like a lot of time, he's all talk, but
Mhm.
I think that this presents him a situation where he could talk a little bit, but also they don't actually need him like
Yeah.
that like that much. Like he got a couple 5 to 10 minutes a game, probably up to 20 as we end the season. But like once the rotations tighten up, the playoffs, maybe you get like 5 to 10 minutes where he impacts the game a little bit. But I think that's a good place for him is the Bucks.
I like it. That would be that'd be kind of fun. Maybe what's the guy who's their backup pointer now? Javon Carter is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Maybe a little
Javon
bit of an
Carter.
upgrade kind of there.
Mm.
Even though Javon Carter hasn't been too bad. Well, you know what I
He's
kind
had
of
some games. Yep,
yeah, he's had some games. He's
season.
like not bad. Or I kind of want to see him go is going back to just Minnesota. I think it's the most easiest kind of fit for him. If you really think about it, Pat Bev was pretty bad for just a lot of his career. Just really not a helpful guy at all. Other than just playing good defense and talking trash, but like not much else than there. And then he went to Minnesota and he had a fantastic career. So you know what? If it's not broke, don't fix it. Bring him back there. Maybe he could actually be impactful again because he was not that good in the on the Lakers, and so Like you talked about, he likes to talk a lot of trash. I feel like the young team of that Minnesota is actually responded well to having a guy like Pat Bev around them. So we've been talking about them. Minnesota, a little bit of a disappointment this season. I think someone like Pat Bev maybe brings that fire back into them like they had last season, and then they can cry again when they win a play-in series and all that. But but no, no, I'm just messing. I wasn't too mad when I saw that, but Jeff, do you want to take
I
the?
wasn't mad. I just laughed.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty funny. The music and everything, the memes, too good.
Definitely. Um, yeah, I'll pick up this last one. Will Barton is our last individual. Will Barton is very interesting in the sense that since being traded to the Nuggets, has had a reduced role compared to what he was doing in the Nuggets prime. Where do you think he could land?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned like he had a reduced role. The Wizards are a team who are trying to win, and they gave up, I believe, a first round pick for Will Barton to not play him whatsoever. And it was pretty confusing. Honestly, it's kind of similar to what the Knicks did with Cam Reddish. Like, hey, we give up a first round pick, play you a little bit. Actually, you're gonna sit on the bench the whole entire time. Well, Barton, got traded and is not wasn't not playing at all. Not happy with this role. Kyle Kuzma blew up and is fantastic this year, so they don't really need him. So where does Will Barton go? I don't have the greatest answer. I want to say Dallas. I like the fit with Dallas of have another guy that can just do something with the ball. Put him on the bench when Luka's not playing, when if Kyrie's not playing, have a little someone else that can do something. Will Barnes not the worst shooter. Um, yeah, just bring somebody else. They need more help. They need a little bit more depth. I kind of like the fit with Dallas, but what do you think, Jeff?
Uh, honestly, I think I've been trying to wrap my mind about around like what would make sense for him. Like I remember before the Nets blew up, um, there was talks of him considering like a team like the Nets if he hit the open market. Um, I think that he needs to go to a situation like I said, the main objective is to kind of sharpen up the edges, not really change a
Yep.
lot of things. Dallas does make sense in that sense because they don't necessarily need him a lot, but like
Mhm.
it would be helpful to have after you lose a guy like DFS in the trade and Spencer Dinwiddie. Obviously, I think Spencer Dinwiddie is a better player at this point right now.
For sure.
But I mean, like along the lines of like just trying to help to replace what those guys brought. In that perspective, on the shooting side of it, obviously they can't replicate the defense. He won't
Mhm.
replicate the defense, but he's no slouch either. So for me, I think the most interesting spot for him to land at, and the only reason why I say this is because the Warriors haven't really done much in the playoff market, but I could see a Will Barton going to the Warriors, trying to help bolster the wing depth that they have over there. I think they have some good wing depth, but like the thing is, they've relied on wing depth in really young guys last couple of
Yep.
years. I know GP2 is coming back, but Will Barton provides you a bigger body, and sometimes that helps and helps kind of hide some deficiencies on the defensive side if you just show effort, you know.
Yeah.
So Will Barton provides a good aspect of the most worn out word in the NBA and is 3 and D, and but he's not that much of a D anymore, you know. So
Yeah.
I think Warriors do present a good opportunity for him though.
That is nice. He can maybe replace that Juan Toscano Anderson role that they had last year and just like, they're
Exactly.
trying to run it back. They brought Gary Payne back, so you got to replace Juan there. And I like it. I think Will Barnes probably, out of all these guys, maybe the most easy to fit in on any team. And like you kind of said, like the three and D, but
Yeah,
not necessarily D. Like any team can kind of use that kind of player. So that's probably one of the nicest guys to pick up.
yeah. He probably is the crown jewel of
Yeah,
all of them, right?
yeah, for
So
sure.
youngest by far too. So
Oh yeah, it's kind of crazy. Mo Barnes, a buyout guy like that, or
yeah.
at least I don't know if he's bought out yet, but I know he wants to be bought out from the Wizards, and they're not going to play him, so it'd be interesting.
Oh,
All right,
that
let's go to the
was
next
good.
topic.
On to the next. Yes. So as we mentioned, Lakers are climbing back into contention. Are looking to climb back into contention as of second half of the season. Unfortunately, LeBron James last game in the All Star game last night injured his pinky, but it looks like it's contusion. And LeBron said right after the game that I don't expect this to do too much damage. I'm fine.
Yep.
It won't impact their chances. So I agree with him. I don't think it's gonna impact their chances if he doesn't miss time. But let's say he does. I think we have another question to be asking rather than the question we're asking now. But Brian, what is the feasibility in your mind with this revamped roster? LeBron coming into his own at the end of the season, AD being relatively healthy. What is their chances for the Lakers climbing back into finals contention for you?
Ah, so finals contention 5%, like basically kind of nothing. But at the end of the day, the reason why I even say 5% is really just like, hey, it's LeBron James, it's Anthony Davis. Those two guys, they're good enough to win some games and especially even potentially a playoff series. I just think that the West itself, especially now with all these trades and what happened in Brooklyn and everything, I just think all those other teams are better. And I think they're significantly better. And if we were playing in a 7 game series, those other teams beat the Lakers still at the end of the day. It's the team is way better than what they were before. Before this team was not even close to even not even a playing team, realistically. Like, if anything, maybe the 10th kind of seed in the play-in or the back half of the play-in. Now I see them more kind of in the upper half, but like still, who do I put them over? Right? Who they're behind right now? I put them over Portland. I put them over Utah. And I put them over OKC. Potential, yeah, I put them over Minnesota, but that's still that only what puts them in the ninth or eighth seed right there. Like, I think New Orleans is better, Dallas, Phoenix, Clippers, Kings, Memphis, Denver. I still think all those teams are better than the Lakers. I do like the moves that they made. I think they're pretty impactful, but still to win the championship, to actually be a serious contender, I don't see it. I don't see it. What do you think?
I agree. I always love having this conversation with you because, like,
Yeah.
I think I think sometimes when having this conversation, I don't usually get the most sensible people to talk to about it.
Mm.
And I agree in the sense like it would even with the roster that they've constructed, it would be just so cumbersome of a challenge to come back from where they are now. And you got to factor that and how that plays a part into this run that they would need to take. 5 games under 500 right now. You get to 500, it does put you in the middle of the pack, but you need to string some wins before you even get to the middle of the pack. Um, I think a lot of people are keeping a hope out there because of just how wonky the season has been out west and how relatively close it's been besides the 1 and 2 seeds. Um, it's the gap that's developing, or the gap that is developing between those top 2 seeds and the 3rd seed, is making it very, and let's be honest, pretty much the 1st seed only.
Yeah,
Like, the Nuggets are on another level. But, watching it and how it's unfolding is causing me to think, like, everybody feels like they got a chance. Everyone thinks they will have a chance, and that's why we're now saying, "Do you think that they're gonna have a chance?" Because it is a sizable, deficit. But like I said, I like you said, I don't think they have the firepower to continue up this route because we're hoping for all of the best case scenarios for them to
yeah,
contend, right? And that's just easier said than done. You're hoping that Russ plays at I'll say a different name, D'Angelo,
yeah. D'Lo.
because if you said
Yeah,
so no confusion there. If D'Lo's playing at a level that he could, that's an expectation, like, but,
yeah,
you don't know if that's gonna happen, right? If the other guys that they brought in if Malik Beasley's playing at his 40% from 3 level, um, that gives him more of a chance. Vanderbilt's playing in a great role as a backup, but does he get frustrated with his role, kind of like Thomas Bryant? Does AD stay healthy? Does LeBron have a late season injury? Like, there's just a lot of what ifs that could happen to this team that if one of them happen, I think it just derails the season completely. And when you're living like that, I don't know how you can say someone's contending,
yeah,
because look at the Celtics. They lose a guy every now and then, and it looks like nothing's changed. Look at the fact that they've had someone that is a bona fide role player in
Derek
Derek
White.
White just win the Player of the Week. So like that's what I'm saying. Like when someone's truly in finals contention, and they're clearly in finals contention. I just don't see this for the Lakers right now.
Yeah, and so one super well said. And if we look at, all right, they finish in, you know, the top half of the play-in, because I really don't think they're getting any higher than that. They finish in the 7th or 8th seed. All right, cool. Now you're gonna verse Memphis in the first round. Now you're gonna verse Denver in the first round. That's if you get out of the play-in, but most likely I can see them doing that because the roster is a lot better. But yeah, if you're versing Denver in the first round, Memphis in the first round, I don't like that for for the Lakers. And like you said, there's so many what ifs, and you have to get very lucky. Is it feasible? Not really. Now, can they actually get up pretty high in in the standings? Possibly. They actually have one of the easier schedules in the league, and right, like, for the rest of the schedule. But still, like, I don't know if it's enough. I really don't think. Like, I think Dallas has the easiest, and New Orleans has the third easiest. So those two teams are ahead of you, and they have an easier road than you. So yeah, not looking too great for the Lakers. It's a nice story. I would like to see something happen. Is it likely? Probably not.
Yeah, no, I agree with that because I want to factor in, like you just mentioned, the Mavs. I factor in, like, even like on a next year perspective, it's going to be very hard, very interesting. Even if they were able to pull in a guy like Kyrie to that team, to just with the salaries that they will be paying for these 3 guys, it's going to be hard to construct the team still. Obviously, significant jump in talent,
Yep.
right? But what do you put around that? You're not going to be able to put much around that. And hopefully you get some of these guys birds right so you could keep them. But like, who do you decide to give that bird right to? Because I believe birds right hard caps you.
I think
And
so.
Do you want to really hard cap a team that is full of deficiencies
Yeah,
besides star power?
this roster is just not great. It's surprising that they even got this much of an upgrade. Like I really have to, hats off to the Lakers right now. They had a great, trade deadline. Still though, not enough to win. And like you said, how many times have we seen it a late season injury for LeBron? Seen it all these seasons till now. Like it's not looking great. They have a lot to do. So yeah, I think the Lakers, it's a fun story, but that's about it. Do you want to move on to the Suns?
Yeah. As of right now, the Suns are heading into February 20th, sitting in the fifth spot in the West, 4 games over 500 with a 32-28 record, and third best for third in the Pacific Division, same division as the Lakers. Keep that in mind. So, with that in mind, they're smack they're smack dab in the middle of it. The playoffs started today. They would be playing the Clippers, and they would eventually be playing the Nuggets. Brian, this leaves them primed with a gentle, uh, not a gentle giant, a very mercurial. Oh no, actually that's Kyrie Irving, but a very very tough and strong. And I don't know what the best way. Okay, I know the best way to put it. If not the best player when healthy,
Mm.
um, he's pretty darn close to being the first. Kevin Durant is coming back fairly soon for these Suns. Where do you think that takes them? Like, and do you see them having a real chance at like going for the championship? Do you think this is that the ceiling for them this season?
Yeah, I think it definitely is. I think, I mean, we've seen it. I always talked about it with the Nets. Like, hey, you got Kevin Durant on your team, you have a chance to win it all. And we kind of saw how he almost did that against, the Bucks pretty much by himself. And now he's on this team and he has a lot of help. The Suns is they're a good team. Like look where they are right now. Like you said, they're the fifth seed. They're really not too far from the third, even the second seed, if they have a good string of games and all that. And most of their best guys have been out for close to half of the season. Devin Booker's played 33 games so far. He just came back. You have Chris Paul playing, I believe, 39 games right so far. Campaign playing 28 games. We know how impactful he's been for that team. Yeah, it's someone like Kevin Durant. This team is healthy. It is pretty tough to see, in my mind, anyone else in the Western Conference having a legit chance. Like I would, even against Denver, I think I would take Phoenix. Now, when it comes to the Eastern Conference with Boston and Milwaukee, that's where it gets really close. I think I see in my eyes. I don't know. You tell me if you think differently. I think those teams are pretty even. Like you got Boston, Milwaukee, and Phoenix. I think those are the three leaders in my mind. But yeah, I think this team is just too good. You got Kevin Durant on there too. Oh my god, it's crazy.
It's so my thing is I don't want to disrespect the Nuggets because of what they've been able to do,
Hmm.
and I think that
For sure,
as you said, if you have Kevin Durant, you have a chance to win the championship, but you also had the chance to not. and I've
it's
been
true.
and I've been able to see that the last couple of years. Is granted, I think that this will be a less stressful scenario for him to
Oh
go about doing it because Phoenix is strictly just hooping,
yeah.
like
Hmm.
there's nothing else, no other drama that comes down to big old Phoenix.
Right.
But I do think that, you know, I can't give up on the Warriors. Like, there's something in me that keeps on saying, like, they're gonna have, like, a dark horse, like, rise once Steph Curry comes back and just fall into fold, and that will cause a lot of problems for the teams out west. But at the same time, I think the bigger thing is not disrespecting the Nuggets in this situation because the Nuggets have a complete roster. I don't think we've
Yeah,
ever seen a more complete roster other than the Celtics right now on the East right now for this season, right? The way how they're constructed with the ability to see MPJ taking his game to, and honestly, we're not even talking about MPJ that much this
yeah,
season, but he's been playing pretty well. Jamal Murray's coming back into the fold, right? You got Bruce Brown proving to be a really good piece off of the bench. Uncle Jeff, he still gives you a couple minutes. And then obviously, Jokic, like what there's
mhm,
they have so much players that they had to give up good enough players, a good
yeah,
player in Bones Holland to the Clippers, so that they could get out of a situation like that. Like we've seen
yep,
this in the past with them, but I think they just have enough depth to combat whatever the Suns throw at them. And I give them a fighter's chance, and it would be interesting. I wish it would have been like a Western Conference. I hope they get into a place where it's a Western Conference matchup rather than a second round matchup.
yeah,
Kind of like how I felt about the Bucks and Nets. I felt like that was more of the Eastern Conference Finals. It just that's how it played out. They
yeah.
had to play the second round.
I I definitely agree. I think we definitely put a little bit we don't put enough respect on the Nuggets. And I think it's kind of just like we've always known the Nuggets to be good, but like now they're actually at full power. Like we have not seen them at full power this entire time. Another guy you didn't get a chance to mention, but I did want to bring up Aaron Gordon has been playing fantastic this season. Like this team is firing on all cylinders. I don't know why. I feel like somewhere in my gut, I'm kind of feeling like this is the last year's Suns where like they looked unbelievable, they look unstoppable, but I feel like when it gets to the actual playoffs, they're not gonna do as great. Like right now, they're shooting everyone in that's this team is almost shooting like 40% from three. Like everyone's playing fantastic this season, and I just feel like I don't know it's tough to see it. I guess I more want to see like one of these guys actually do really fantastic in the playoffs. Like we haven't really seen
Oh,
any of them other than Jamal Murray. Like Jamal Murray did, but it was still the bubble, and like I don't care too much. I don't put too much stock personally on the bubble stuff, but yeah, I feel like we haven't seen them actually do it in a tested environment.
I I'll push back on that. I think Jamal Murray's like built for the moment.
Mhm.
Um, I would want to see everybody else step up, right?
Yeah,
Jokic obviously is going to continue being Jokic. That's why
for
we
sure.
don't even need to talk about that, right? But the reason why I bring that up, or why I believe Jamal Murray is built for the moment, is not only did the bubble he did it, there is the playoffs where they played the Trailblazers, and he was
Mm.
as much as Dame was having a crazy game like that. I think it was game 5 and he put up, I believe it was 60. Don't don't quote me on it, but I know they were going tick for tack
Yeah,
in that game. And Jamal Murray showed up. Like he shows up. I believe in his game that he'll show up. It's more of yes, will MPJ one of those guys that show up. You mentioned Aaron Gordon; he wanted to be an All Star this year, so like,
yep,
yeah, that's another person you ask like, does he show up? But I think only time will tell. It's kind of funny now thinking about it too that they weren't able to get a second All Star in there,
true.
being that they are the top dogs out west, and NBA just said our coaches, players, teams said nope.
I think it's mostly just because of like the whole entire roster is firing on all cylinders that like other than Jokic, everyone else is like really kind of just on the same level playing field. And like of course we know Jamal Murray's has that next gear, could bring it to that next level, but a lot of these other guys could as well. So that's where it's just like it's just so even there, and they're playing so well. But like on a team like the Lakers, you just really just very top heavy, and a lot of these other teams like they're top heavy, but your role players are great. With someone like Jokic, especially too, like he makes everyone around him so much better, and all that. It's crazy. That's funny that like, hey, we started talking about this whole segment with the Suns, and here we are like gushing over the Nuggets, and like, I'm excited to see them. I think I don't know. So right now, if you had to put money on it, who are you taking in both teams healthy and everything? Phoenix or the Nuggets?
Yeah, so I was watching something where it spoke to me on Kevin Durant specifically, where they were mentioning that Kevin Durant is a two-time champion, but he hasn't won one without Curry. So it does leave you to think, like, is this the right scenario for him to fall into the fold and win it like he was with the Warriors? I think that this is a more daunting of challenges, right? Like the Warriors just presented such an easy scenario for him to win, right? Like, so I think that this is almost same level as like when he put the team around Harden and Kyrie and the Nets. Is it's still going to require work. It's not going to be as easy of a path as when it was with the Warriors. You know, so
Yeah.
I would give him, if I was to give him a percentage of making out the West. I think right now I'll give him 60%.
60%. Okay.
Higher than higher than a 50-50,
Yeah.
giving them more chances, the thought process of them winning. And honestly, I'd probably give 30% of that to the Nuggets and then 10% to the field.
Got it. I think I agree. Like I think they edge out against all these other teams. But it's also as of right now, this is all theoretical. Like we have to see how this actually works. It's just more like we don't see it not working. And Kevin Durant, we've seen him work with other stars, and Phoenix is playing really well. DeAndre Ayton's having a pretty decent season so far. Um, and so this only makes it easier. Like when you have a guy like Kevin Durant joining this team, it makes it easier for everybody else. Everyone else gets easier shots. So um, yeah, I like the Suns. So all right, let's say for instance, Suns make it out of the West. They're versing Boston. Do you think they beat Boston?
I think the championship runs through the East this season. That's just honestly how I feel. I don't think it's a specific team. I think any of the teams that make it out of the East will beat them. I just feel that the juggernauts have switched over to being the Eastern teams, and the Western teams are still figuring themselves out.
Yeah, I
I'll
I
never
think I
say the
agree.
words, never say the words that John Morant said, but 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 I do think that they should figure it out west. But once they get to the finals, if they make it to the finals, they will be uh, unfortunately taken an L.
Yeah. Something that's interesting too, with especially with Denver. I feel like well, one, no one really ever talks about Denver, and then two, I feel like it's how they play in an elevated area where it's a little bit harder for athletes to play in a Denver arena. I wonder if that's a pretty big like factor for them, and kind of like a little X factor of, all right, you're gonna play like the home court advantage in that sense there. But
Elevation City, man.
yeah, exactly.
Elevation City, the mile high city.
Yeah.
But no, I do think that does play as an advantage. Let's see if it's an advantage in the middle of the summer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very true. All right, that's all we had there. I actually very quickly wanted to get your thoughts instead of a weekly roundup, just your thoughts on the All Star Weekend. What'd you think about 3 point contest, dunk contest, All Star game? Really quickly.
I'm becoming more of a fan of just scrapping the skills challenge. I
Yeah,
really don't find that as an
that's why I did.
enjoyable
That's why I didn't bring that up.
event. Like, um, 3 point always, it's become now the center of the All-Star game, right?
Pretty much.
That people All-Star weekend is people love to see which shooters are doing the 3 point skills challenge. Pretty hilarious that Julius Randle was selected to be in
I
there
don't know how.
because I don't even understand why he was chosen. But it's funny, he beats out Kevin Herter.
I was gonna
So
say Kevin
so,
Herter. Let's go.
so, so that's pretty hilarious. But uh dunk contest, sadly to say it, man, like it's lost its luster to me. I
Yeah,
know Mac, like, I'm happy for Mac winning, but like when you're not a novelist like fan, you already seen these stuff from Mac. Like these are all dunks like you watch videos of seeing of Mac, like when he came up into the league, when he's done his time in the G League, you know, believe he started off with the Warriors, or he bounced
yeah.
around a couple teams, obviously, but like Lakers, Warriors. I think it was the Lakers he
It was
started
the
off
Lakers. Yeah,
at.
he was undrafted.
Um, yeah. So he's been really interesting to see on that side of the athleticism. But like I find that I just find that to be so sad that you can't get guys that even in the league agree to do this thing, that you had to go and pull from your G League depth to get someone to do this. Like that's just so it's honestly getting me ticked off about like just the nature of like what it is are the persona of NBA players nowadays. It's like none of them want that. Everybody run away from the grind, but Dame Lillard is what I'm
Yeah.
basically trying to say. So, and granted, I don't mind the other aspects like of wanting to play on a winner, wanting to play together. Those things don't bother me. It's more of the laissez-faire approach to everything, and like that's that upsets me. The game wasn't too bad, but man, honestly, when LeBron went down, it just gave you a preview of what next generation of basketball is going to look like. And my God, the NBA has to find its next face of the league because there's not really a guy that has the showmanship that LeBron carries.
Yeah.
Like there was nobody. Once LeBron went out, like watching that game kind of was like, it was kind of boring. Like there's not that guy that's like a showstopper like that.
Yeah. I think pretty much everyone's kind of talking about how boring the actual game is. I had to turn it off. I was like, why am I watching this? I'm one exhausted and two like this is just not fun. Everyone, no one's playing any defense or anything like that, and it's just like I don't know. Like you want to see get all the players there. I understand they want to have fun, but like at the end of the day, we want to see like some competition. Like you get the best players on the court. Let's actually see some competition there. And it's kind of like what you talked about was something like the dunk contest. Why is the 3 point contest like the kind of the star of All Star Weekend? Because a lot of good 3 point shooters actually want to participate. So it's cool to see. All right, who's going to be best in this format? With dunkers, like generally don't feel like we always have the best dunkers in the All Star in the All Star or in the dunk contest. So like,
Definitely don't.
Why is this fun? Like, this is not really that fun. Like you said, I think Mac had some pretty nice dunks to begin with, but like, still, it doesn't get you very excited. All Star Weekend, I don't know. I feel like every year they always talk about that there needs to be a change or a switch up or something, but I don't know. It's just not working. I feel like they can't find it. I don't know what the solution is.
I I don't know what it is either, but it honestly has become like Kobe year was an amazing All-Star game.
Mm,
And the year where he passed and then they honored him and how
yeah,
they did the All-Star game, right? But from there on, it's just feel like it is what it is, and it's made it unbearable to watch the game, right? And then it's made the other things that usually were the reason that glued together the whole weekend, that Saturday night, that feels like an afterthought now.
yeah.
It feels like an afterthought.
Yeah, it's a little sad. Hopefully the next one's a little bit better, but nah, I'm glad at least a lot of the NBA players get to get just to rest during this time, get back healthy, get for this last playoff push right now. Got some exciting basketball coming up. Jeff, any final words for this episode before we call it a show?
Oh, no, clocking out. I'm clocking out right now. I don't
Yeah.
think I got anything else to say.
All right. Well, for all the listeners, remember subscribe, like, follow. Follow the TikTok and Twitter and all that stuff. Really helps out. I think some pretty cool stuff on there. Let us know what you think about the episode. And yeah, until next time, this has been episode 50.
Peace.